And that's actually true. The universe is essentially a frequency. And that's why when we're talking about raise your vibration, it's actually a very real thing. There is a certain geometric frequency that the Earth's grid has right now, which is sort of an icosahedron-dodecahedron combination. And of course, in order to know what I'm talking about, you're going to have to look at the website. But that's what it is right now. You can see an article on my site called Hyperdimensional Nebula, Cubes in Space in the 2012 Case.
Yeah.
And that gives you all this information I'm saying right now. But anyway, the geometry of the Earth's grid is changing. And that's why there's probably going to be a magnetic pole shift, is that when the geometry changes, the axis of the Earth will change because the geometry has a different axis. So it's not like we're going to avoid all these Earth changes from happening. However, in the process of the Earth's geometry changing, we get a global effect that's similar to the Bermuda Triangle, in which each person will experience a shift over into what we now think of as the astral plane. So by decoding this law of one material, which is sort of the undergirding architecture of where I've put all this stuff together from, we can see that 2012 appears to be this shift in matter, energy, and consciousness, which will propel us into a multidimensional state, so that even though the Earth will experience sort of an upheaval, none of us are going to be here for it. Now that gets into the question of, okay, everybody is going to experience that, but whether you will actually stay on the Earth for much more than another 100 to 700 years in this astral plane before you reincarnate back into the physical plane, whether you stay here or not, that depends on your level of consciousness. And so there are some people who, once this shift happens, will immediately be propelled into what we could call the ascension, which is sort of like an overall soul review of all your past lives and sort of putting all that together. Other people will kind of hang out in the equivalent of the astral plane, sort of like the afterlife, and they won't realize that the Earth has changed. They won't realize that this event has happened. They will forget that there was a change, and they will assume that everything is normal.
So you're saying that in the year 2012, we are no longer going to exist? The end of the world?
The Earth will not exist in space-time. The people on the Earth will not be living in the level of it that we now live in. They will be living in an inverted reality called time-space. And again, this sounds very sci-fi and probably makes me sound like a complete wacko, but what you really have to go so far into the science to understand how this would even function. But the easiest way to explain it is Bermuda Triangle, where you have multiple reports of like planes flying through and disappearing, right, or ships coming out where there's nobody on the ship. Mm-hmm. This is part of a real science that our government has been hiding from us. How, when you raise the frequency high enough, that you get a dematerialization, and that's what this is all leading to. This is leading to everyone having a reality shift at the same time. And when you go into this new reality, you will have the ability to do things that you never could have done before. Regardless of whether you're on the positive path or the negative path or you're indifferent, if you try to levitate, you may discover that you will be able to. If you try to heal someone, you may be able to. If you try to hear other people's thoughts telepathically, you may be able to. And part of the problem is, do you even bother to try? So that's part of what's going to happen after 2012. And still, the criteria after 2012 is going to be, do you get it about loving and helping other people? Or do you continue to manipulate and control them?
Yeah, self-abundance, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. So we're really heading into this phase of our existence where this is going to happen to everybody. It's an irreversible shift. There's no get-out-of-jail-free card. So if you're afraid of it, I would recommend meditating on, am I really loving others? Am I really serving others? Because there's no reason to be afraid. That's probably another one of the standard phone calls that we have, is, you know, this sounds terrifying. There's really nothing terrifying about it. It's a consciousness shift that requires our participation. We have to co-create the reality that we're going into. And that's really the law of attraction you'd want to focus on is, am I attracting good karma by being of service and by loving other people? Because when you do that, then the manifestations that you seek will begin happening. You will be given what you need to fulfill your service. Well, let's at least toss in a few calls here, because
we've got just a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to open up one call here and see what happens.
Okay.
and they probably have been hanging on so long there, and I can't get it. But at the same time, here we are. Hello there. Are you still there? Area code 310. Nope, they're not there. We have had all of the lines for it, and I think they just, I just lost them all.
Okay. Well, in that case, then if we don't have much time, we'll try to create a summary statement. Is there anything that you feel that I should cover that I haven't already said?
So I do want to know, when we have the World Joy meditation, what should we be focusing on? Oh,
that's a good point. This ties back into the Science of Peace material that you were so excited about at the beginning. We are already experiencing a reality in which the thoughts that we have in our conscious mind are not our own thoughts only. We are constantly being influenced by other people's thoughts. And it is a scientific reality. It's been established as statistical reality that a small group of people in meditation, under the same roof in that case, 7,000 people in one auditorium, were able to reduce global fatalities, acts of terrorism, acts of harm to others by 72%. That means that 3 out of 4 people who would pick up a gun and shoot someone didn't do it during this meditation. There are experiments in Russia where they took these giant pyramids with 72-degree angles, 144 feet tall, and put salt and pepper in the pyramid, and then distributed that salt and pepper to various jails in Russia. And then the prisoners suddenly got much nicer to each other and healed from addiction and, stopped acting violently. So the pyramids also were able to reduce or eliminate earth change activity. They reduced earthquakes, they reduced severe weather, they purified water. So this is a consciousness science that shows how our individual self has an effect on the level of cataclysms on the earth, the level of war on the earth. That's why a global meditation is so important, because if you think of it as like a room where the temperature is getting hotter and hotter, and as the temperature goes up, people get more and more irritable, they yell and scream at each other. Mm-hmm. The meditators are like these blasts of air conditioning that cools everything down. So a worldwide meditation has the objective of basically injecting that cool energy, chilling people out. And so what you want to do is focus on the highest frequency that you can. You want to be in basically ecstatic, blissful state. You don't want to let your ego chatter. You want to try to just not think anything, but just experience extreme gratitude. Gratitude is really the key word to focus on.
Wow.
And that frequency of gratitude is an energy that's of a higher vibration, which actually can correlate with a higher geometry, and it helps our planet get through this change, because all the earth changes are a function of disharmony being projected out into the world. It's not a function of collective unity. The earth changes wouldn't be happening if we didn't need that as a metaphor of our own storm. So when you see a storm, or when you see a heat wave, which is happening now, it's collective paranoia and anger and fear. And so as we move into trust, and as we move into a greater acceptance that we're not in an Armageddon, we're in a collective awakening, and this is actually a wonderful time to be on the planet, not a terrifying time.
Yeah.
When you can have that shift, then you're beginning to take mastery over your life and not letting life master you.
And that's a perfect place to end it, because we've got 30 seconds. I couldn't stop you. It was just too fascinating. And David, thank you so much. You are wonderful. I've got to get you back on so that we can continue this conversation. You're bringing a real exciting message to all of us. So
both of you guys brought in a great counterpoint, so I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. It was my pleasure.
Okay. Hey, David, one real quick thing. I'm trying for this co-host of this show, and I know you have like 3 million followers. So if you can kind of like cast your vote before you leave, in the box that says Andy Adler, I'd really appreciate it, and kind of tell your 3 million people to do the same thing. I would really appreciate it, David.
He's got to get that in.
Well.
Thank you so much, David.
It's David, my pleasure, and you guys have a great night.
You too. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.
And everybody stay on for the after show, and we are on the after show. Thank you.
Wow.
Boy, that was interesting, huh, Andy?
Yeah, it's pretty heavy.
Yeah. That was good.
It just, I mean, a lot of the things he said, I'm in alignment with, and that's one of the reasons I put together the gathering